30 countries. The momentum and reach of Spartan is unstoppable. And the biggest question, in a time of global pandemic, can the resilience and fortitude of Spartans worldwide persevere and be unbreakable? What started as a quest to challenge and help the world find its motivation to find more from themselves, each other, has now transformed into a global phenomenon. Today, we speak with Spartan co-founder, I should say Spartan founder and author, best-selling author, and
the
father of OCR to simplify motivation, none other than Joe DeSena. Today, we also catch up with multiple Olympians, Ashley Caldwell, Alex Ferreira, Nick Mayu, Alex Kopach, and Sam Pedlow, as they continue their quest and look forward to the next Olympics. How's it going, everyone? I'm Pat Parnell, and we welcome you. Want to thank, obviously, USANA, Cellular Nutritional Company, for making this possible. Today, we have such a gathering. And before we get to our Olympians, I bring you none other than best-selling author, founder, and father of still one of the fastest-growing movements and sports in the world. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Joe DeSena. Joe, you're looking fit. You're looking like, I don't know, this isn't impacting you at all, being quarantined, my friend. Good to see you again.
It's all makeup, man. I am broken.
Okay.
I've been telling the world to stay unbreakable, to eat healthy, to wake up early, take cold showers, do burpees. But, oh my God.
But my question, before we came on air, I asked you how many burpees have you done today? And it's in the what, almost 300? What's the daily?
I'm almost 300, but that's my target number each day.
Yeah, and we want to encourage everyone to join the conversation. Hashtag Be Unbreakable. We're going to get to our Olympians and talk about how they're dealing with everything. But before we get to that, Joe, I just bring everyone up to speed. You know, how is it looking for Spartan this year? I know the global reach, we mentioned over 30 countries now and growing, and I know there's the quest to get OCR in its rightful place in the Olympics. Bring us up to speed how things are looking towards fall with 2020 and moving into 2021 with Spartan.
Yeah, so I'll give you a quick rundown. So we started 20 years ago, and I fought by hook and by crook, nonstop every day to convince people to do burpees, take cold showers, crawl under barbed wire. And most people over the last 20 years have looked at me like a crazy person. Why would we possibly do that? We've got Netflix, we've got couches, we've got temperature-controlled houses and showers. However, since this pandemic hit, I think people are realizing that our message wasn't far off. We need to be comfortable being uncomfortable, because stuff's going to happen in your life when you least expect it. I just didn't expect it to happen to me. So we got to 45 countries with this message. We had 7 million people through the program. We just purchased our competitor, our main competitor, Tough Mudder, right before the pandemic, which was idiotic. But when we get through this thing, it'll make a lot of sense. And to be honest with you, I was getting messaging about this problem in January. We operate in China. We operate in Japan. We operate in Italy. So I saw all these things coming down the road, and I'm so optimistic, I poo-pooed them. I said, it's no big deal. Now we're in 42 countries instead of 45. This will be over before you know it. I also have a previous life in finance. And all my Wall Street friends were telling me, oh my God, this thing's going to be a disaster. I mean, they were telling me early February, you're going to be shut down for 3, 4, 5 months. And I said, you guys are so pessimistic. You're sitting on trading desks. You're watching the news too much. This thing's going to be nothing. It's going to blow over. I was wrong. They were right. And so now, well, I'll tell you, March 11th, I got invited to go to Sparta, Greece. I was there with Gerard Butler. I was there with Billy Zane, with the Spartan mayor. They're lighting the torch for the Olympics. There's a whole big ceremony. There's a bunch of Italians that escaped Italy that are having dinner with us. It was probably very irresponsible. And I go to bed. I wake up in the morning, and there's 100 texts on my phone, especially from my wife. You need to get out of Europe. They just closed the border. You're not going to get home. If you don't get home, I'm going to kill you. If the virus doesn't kill you, I will. And so I raced to get to Athens, and then raced to get to Heathrow, got stuck in Heathrow. And during that time, it was very quiet. I realized this is a disaster. My friends in finance were correct. My folks in China were correct. Japan were correct. And so we're going to have to make some fast, bold moves. We're going to have to furlough a bunch of people, which is terrible. We're going to have to cut a bunch of expenses literally overnight. We are going to be shut down in 45 countries in the next few days. And sure enough, it came fast and hard. And yeah, it's amazing I'm still alive, to be honest, because
Well, no, and it's people don't understand what a military operation, Spartan is. But bring us perhaps maybe you give us a little tour, because I know I can tell that you're at the barn that I was lucky enough to spend some time at with you. It doesn't sound quiet. It sounds like you've got people from all over the globe there, kind of quarantined and working out together. Can you give us a little tour before we get to our prestigious panel of Olympians?
Yeah, there's another live going on a few feet from me. Come on.
Of course there is. That's typical Joe DeSena.
Wow. This is an 2008 Olympian. He's a wrestler, Andy Robat.
How did you guys meet, Joe, if I may ask?
There's an Olympic gymnast over there in the corner. We've got a videographer and editor over there. Hang on, I'm going to show you guys outside. I met Andy. A lot of people just want to get to know Spartan. So we're very fortunate, like all the Olympic athletes on the show here. We just meet a lot of people. Hang on, take a look outside. How's that?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, awesome. So, not even though my world is falling apart and I'm losing millions of dollars a week, I'm in the barn. So that's nice. I can keep a little bit of peace of mind.
Is it fair to say your background in finance mixed with the fact that you've developed such a penchant for obstacle immunity maybe makes you perfectly, I don't know, you might be the perfect fit, how to find the fix in this time?
For this disaster, well, I think you need to do a few things, and I'd love to hear from the Olympians. But for me, I immediately went into military mode, which was okay. The standards don't change. This is the time I wake up every day. This is what I do every day. As a matter of fact, I'm raising the bar. We're going to hold more meetings. I'm going to do more workouts. We're going to pivot the company. Our team is so unbelievable. Even though we furloughed 75% of our people around the globe, they're still leaning in. The folks that stayed on took massive salary haircuts. They're leaning in. They pivoted the company to content, merchandise, nutrition, and we're surviving. But, if you asked me that question 2 weeks ago, I would have just dusted it off and said, this is no big deal. I'm built for this. Last few days, it's just, I'm 33 days into this thing, and fuck, it's hard.
Okay, well, we've got a lot to get to, and I definitely want you part of the conversation, especially when we open it up to kind of things that all of these Olympians and yourself, because I know you're working with a lot of Olympians, as we just saw. So I guess without further ado, I'd love to bring in our first Olympian, the 26-year-old that you guys have used to probably seen her inverted. She was the first female to pull the Big Daddy. We're talking about the quad twisting flip. Such just a hellion on two skis, none other than Ashley Caldwell, part of the U.S. freestyle ski team. 11 years on the team. Ashley, welcome. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm pretty good. I'm in Park City, Utah right now. So we just had a little bit of snow today, which is a change in pace.
So bring everyone up to speed. I know it's different in every state. I'm sure as a skier and someone who loves the outdoors, it makes this kind of situation even harder. But are there areas where the Bureau of Land Management is allowing people to hike, and are you still able to get on the snow, or what's the latest there?
Yeah, so they shut down all the ski resorts, so we're not getting the nice lift up as per usual in this time of the year. But the backcountry area is still open for skiing as long as people are maintaining social distancing. I live at a backcountry destination in Park City, and we are getting police around us lately to monitor the amount of people that are coming into these areas to try and go backcountry skiing, just because if it gets out of hand, they are going to shut them down. But we do have some young kids that go up and they're building their terrain parks because they need to get out. They want to get outside, and they don't quite abide by the rules as they need to. But we're doing our best.
You seem like you're not fighting the fun, and you're being safe about it. And you at least get into a little
I
bit.
haven't been up to do the terrain park things because I'm not quite as talented in the terrain park as Alex Ferreira, but
I'm not buying that.
Yeah, I can do backflips off of really big jumps, but I can't hit a rail to save my life. So.
But you bring up a good point. Yeah, we do have Alex Ferreira coming up. You're no stranger to the throwing backies, but take us through. I want to because I love how you've gone on record and you said being athletic, healthy, and competitive. It's not gender exclusive. And when I believe it was Spain was the first because I know you get a lot of firsts happen and then you get used to seeing something. But can you bring us through that first time you landed a quad twisting triple backflip? AKA the daddy, as they call it. Was it like 2017? Am I right?
Yeah, it was in Spain, 2017. So I had done the trick 2 times before that, hadn't landed it, and this was the final jump at the 2017 World Championships. So not only did I win World Championships, but I had done a first. No female has ever done a quadruple twisting triple backflip in any discipline. So I made an acrobatic first for any female. And not only that, but I did the same level of flips and twists as the male counterpart at this World Championships, who happened to be my lifelong teammate, John Lewis. So there was a lot of emotion going on. But yeah, it was a huge goal. And for a long time, it was just for me. It was my goal. But then I realized that it was so much bigger than myself when I did that I felt like for my entire gender, or for anyone who feels like they might be constrained by certain physical limitations or expectations.
Sure. Well, we can see Alex chomping on the bit because I know we got more to get to, and I know you're going to add a lot of insight when it comes to recovering from injury and staying positive. We will get to that once we get everyone together at the same time in the Olympic panel. So without further ado, let's bring in the 25-year-old out of Aspen, Colorado, Alex Ferreira, part of the U.S. free skiing team on the half pipe side. No stranger to throwing dubs and beyond. And I should point out 2019 Olympic, X Games gold medalist, in 2018 silver medalist at the Olympics. Alex, welcome, sir. Honored to have you.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It's so good to be on the podcast or video cast with everybody. It's super cool. Ashley, you're a total badass. Thank you.
A lot of mutual admiration going on. You guys, all in your own right in different sports. It's great to get such a good, awesome amalgamation of determined athletes. It's interesting, your background. I mean, obviously, if you're spending a lot of time at Aspen, but I do have to say there's got to be a little bit of genetics with, I believe, was your father, was he a soccer player? Did I read?
Yeah, my dad was a professional soccer player for River Plate in Argentina.
Yeah. And then was mom a marathon runner as well?
Mom was a marathon runner. She's run about 10 marathons. She still runs to this day. She can't sit still. Nobody in the family can sit still, myself included.
So you've got tenacity and stamina in your genes is what I'm picking up on.
I think you could say that. I hope you could say that.
Yeah. How about you? Like before we get to kind of our topic points of how everyone's kind of approach to this and kind of training out of this and looking to the next Olympics. How are you handling things? Like, are you dealing with the shelter in place? Okay.
Yeah, obviously it's a difficult time for the whole world, myself included. It's hard, like Joe said. It's hard being inside. It's hard sitting at the house and not doing what I'm normally supposed to be doing. But there's a lot of silver linings in that. It's pretty cool that you're able to spend so much time with the family. I've never gotten to know my mom and my sister like I have these past couple weeks. And to say that, I would say is super special. So as far as the training goes, I actually have a bit of a sprained ankle. So I've been just rehabbing every single day, doing my indoor exercises. The shelter in place is very much so instilled. And yeah, just rehabbing, trying to make the best out of it.
Before we get to Nick Mayhew, the soccer phenom, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about your silver medal story, because Joe DeSena says it's a must hear. So pray tell, if I may say.
Yeah, I'll try and get the aura there. So there's the 2014 Winter Olympics, and all 4 of my best friends, for the most part, make it into the event. They qualified. and I was the fifth man. They take 4 guys. Immediately, heart shattered. Couldn't believe what just happened. So sad. And I'm sitting at my house watching the event on TV. And that day I decided to go to the half pipe and to go train right afterwards. I was just going to go by myself, and I was going to figure out exactly what I needed to do to be prepared for 4 years' time. So I get home and I start working to this ultimate goal. I start going to the gym 5 days a week. I start going to the steam room 5 days a week and visualizing my run. I start going to the trampoline 5 days a week, practicing my air awareness. I start seeing a physical therapist 2 days a week. I start seeing a sports psychologist 3 days a week. I took it from nothing to everything that I possibly had in my power and in my control to make it to the event, the one event I always wanted to make it to. So fast forward 4 years, the event is coming up, or we'll fast forward to the morning of, I guess. And
Okay.
I'm feeling all these crazy nerves, feeling that I've never felt before, very, very nervous. And we're about to drop into the run. Right before I drop into the run, it's not every day that you get to go to the Olympics with one of your best friends. And I got to go with Tornator Walls, who I grew up with. It was a very special moment for us. But he looks over to me, he drops right before me, and he gives me a hug. Like, I love you, brother. I was like, I love you too, man. You got this. You're going to crush. You got this. He goes, I don't watch anybody's run. I don't know what happened. And I ski in to the little starting area. And my coach, she looks at me and she gives me the eyes. She's like, it's showtime, Al. It's showtime. Third and final run. And I look at her. Okay. All right. Give her the knucks, head bump. Let's do it. 2 pushes. Coming out. Match that transition perfectly. Boom. Nail the takeoff. Lift. Right side double cork 1260 mute grab. Boom. Perfect landing. Coming into the left side dub 10. Safety. Perfect landing. Coming into the switch dub 10 Japan. Lift. 1, 2. There's the deck. Perfect. Land. Coming for the big left side double cork 1260 mute. Get the grab. Tuck the core. All right, come on. 5th and final hit. You got this, baby. Lift. Dub chuck 9 Japan. Land. Score comes in 96.40. Good enough for second place. Put everything in my power on the line, and every single second, every penny that went into it was worth it, and I couldn't be more grateful.
Oh, that's bravo, sir. You tell a good story, and if someone doesn't get motivated by hearing that, okay, so we're gonna definitely dive into a little all things Olympic with you, and so psyched to have you on the show today. We're gonna dive in right with a Paralympian, Nick Mayhew, the 24-year-old out of Virginia, and what an unbelievable story Nick has. Been playing soccer since he was 4 years old. Unbelievable story. What started with a stroke while in utero led an exceptionally talented, I'll say active life led, right into what happened in 2010, which was an underlying condition resulting in a grand mal stroke. Devastating on all counts, on all merits, classified as cerebral palsy. I'm not sure, but Nick somehow found the strength and determination in a prognosis that was hardly optimistic. So Nick, without further ado, thank you so much for taking the time and joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be on a panel like this. You guys have raised the bar to hopefully I can meet it, but thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I know I was condensing a lot. You're a midfielder for the U.S. Para 7-a-side national team. And I know I was trying to condense a lot here because we got a limited time, but tell us kind of how you've been handling things and tackling your training and staying focused, because also you've got not only eyes on soccer sites for the Olympics, but interesting note too, also for track and field right now, right?
Yes, exactly. Unfortunately, the Paralympic soccer is not in the 2020 Tokyo Games.
Yeah.
So I actually, after last year's season, I turned my attention to track and field. and was reached out to by one of the head directors there, and they asked me if I've ever ran track before, and I did when I was little to stay fit for soccer, but nothing professional. And I actually went down to UVA, ran a couple time trials, and got on the phone and said, hey, like I have a real opportunity to go to Tokyo and represent the Team USA at the Paralympics. So wanted to give it a go and move back home to stay here with my mom. And I train with Justin Kavanaugh in Chantilly, Virginia, 6 hours a day, 6 days a week. I mean, it was crazy. I was trying to learn a sport in less than 9 months that people that I would be competing against had been training for their entire life. So it's been a wild ride, but a lot of the tracks are shut down out here. A lot of the fields are shut down. But I'm trying to make do. I'm trying to stay fit and do what I can to raise the bar for sure.
Well, I can say that your story, I mean, it just serves as a beacon of fortitude and determination. And yeah, you are a manimal. We can't wait to have you join the discussion. I'm just going to keep moving it forward so we can get all of you guys together, because this is going to be one pretty crazy, massive diatribe. Want to bring in Alex Kopach, the Canadian out of Ontario. He is Olympic gold medalist from the two-man bobsled along with Justin Cripps. And I feel obviously a two-man bobsledding probably the most difficult thing to be doing right now with social distancing. So Alex,
a little bit.
Bring us up to speed. How are you handling? And we'd love to see you giving big ups to the Spartan representation on your chest there. Well done, sir.
Oh, I've had the privilege of doing 2 different Spartan races, and it kicked my ass. I'm a little bit what you'd call a
right?
very, very heavy runner. Short distance is sweet. Anything longer than 100 meters, and my heart's going to be pounding out of my chest. Things are exciting up in Canada. I guess it's exciting around the world, and I'm sure Sam will comment on some of these things. But biggest challenges being is we have pretty intense social distancing and quarantine in effect, and there's a lot of laws being enforced where there's fines being given out to people in public spaces. So we're all doing our part to kind of keep it down. I have some older family members, and unfortunately kind of everything came to a head. We had some deaths in the family due to cancer, and then all of a sudden the virus hit. And then we find ourselves kind of tucked away and trying to help the best we can. And so kind of doing one of those things where someone goes to someone else's home, knocks on the door, leaves a little care package, then go back, and the family member kind of reciprocates. We got to keep that distance. But training wise, it's been challenging to say the least, because all the gyms are shut down. So I've been using a lot of bands. I was lucky enough to get my hands on some weights, some dumbbells. I've been curling like my life depends on it. So I'm proud to say, I've got a couple inches here, something to help with the two-man.
Well, you can also do what Joe does. You just grab a tire. You can drag anything through the woods with a big chain.
I'll say this. One thing that a lot of people might not consider is there's a fantastic technique called Katsu, or simply blood flow restriction, and you don't really need anything fancy for this. And I'll even go as far as to say, if someone had a belt, a shoestring, something like that, restrict the blood flow to any of your major muscle groups, and you require extremely minimal load. Just do as many reps as you can. It actually stimulates an incredible growth and strength adaptation. So in this case, I got some bands that I had from the last couple of years, and I've been taking advantage of that because I'm just coming off of knee surgeries, which weren't successful. And so it's like, okay, so how am I going to put muscle back on my legs? You got to get creative. I got stairs. I got these bands. I got some dumbbells. Let's get to it.
You might be a perfect candidate for NASA or SpaceX, being a bobsledder, but we'll get into all that. Okay, all right, good to know. Well, that brings us to our final Olympian before we open all the gates for conversation with all of you. We want to thank you, Alex, for taking the time. But our next Canadian, volleyball journeyman, Olympic, well on his way to the Olympics, but now as things get moved a little further and forward, a little bit more difficult. Master of Physical Therapy, Bachelor of Science in Biology, Bachelor in Physical Education. He is a mind of Mensa when it comes to physical motion, but a volleyball phenom, none other than Sam Pedlow. Sam, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, I guess the first correction is I'm an Olympic hopeful right now, so I'm amongst the Olympians. But you're right. Our Olympic journey was.
You're so in the. I was going to say you're so in the wheel space. Am I right?
I'm in the club. I just don't have the jacket yet. So.
Okay.
But our season got cut a little bit short. We got through the first event, and in Doha, Qatar. And basically, the day that we were supposed to fly back to Canada was when things started to become a little bit challenging around the world. And we were thankful to make it home. But in the coming days following our return, the severity of the situation really started to come forth. And basically, the entire summer, including the Olympics and the rest of my season, has been canceled. So definitely starting to get creative, like Alex touched on, blood flow restriction. Today was my first experiment with that. So I think that's a testament to why we're all successful, right? We're able to be adaptable, and that's really what this time has kind of started to be for me.
Yeah, careful. There's a lot of other Olympians watching, and we got a couple Americans on the panel. So you got to be careful what tips you're giving out. I do want to just before we open up the entire panel, it's interesting because you had a top 10 finish at the FIVB Beach World Championships in Vienna, and it's like things were peaking. But I just want to allow you to touch on something. You always talk about the importance of patience, and I think in a time like this, patience really plays a big key factor. Does it not?
Yeah, I think so. And that's really the name of the game that we're in right now. It's a waiting game. We're waiting to see what the Olympic qualification period is even going to look like. Typically beach volleyball, we're playing more events than most other sports in the world. We're playing somewhere between 12 and 15 events a season. Our Olympic qualification period is longer than any other sport in the world. We have to play a minimum of 12 events. And in those 12 events, you can't expect peak performances every time. You're looking for that opportunity, for that breakthrough. And my partner and I, we've had flashes of that breakthrough, and that's what keeps us in that top 20 in the world ranking. We're just looking for that consistent performance, and everyone knows this. If you try and force it, it's not going to happen. It's about preparing and looking for that opportunity, and that's really been the name of the game for us.
All right. Well, I wish you luck as well as with all the other Olympians. And I think it's now time to kind of open up the discussion as we bring back Joe DeSena, Ashley Caldwell, Alex Ferreira, Nick Mayhew, Alex Kopach, and of course, Sam Pedlo. I'd love to welcome Joe back, especially Joe. And if you want to kind of open the discussion, we're obviously wanting everyone to get involved in the conversation. #BeUnbreakable. But Joe, what do you make of what you've heard from such a diverse kind of a committed group of Olympians here?
Yeah, the biggest thing I hear from our 7 million Spartans around the world, and all of you will appreciate this, is, hey, Joe, I don't have the motivation. I don't know where to start. I'm not in shape for that. And something I said before, which is why would I do that? Why would I put myself through it? And when I listen to all of you, and Alex, one or two sentences Alex said, which was he lost and then he took it up 20 notches that same day, right? And said, I'm going to spend the next 4 years. And I'm sure all of you have done that. And so my question and my message to the world watching is, how do we get everybody to play like a pro? How do we get everybody to act like an Olympian? Because what I hear a lot of is excuses, is frustration, is regret from people, all of us, our family, our friends, ourselves. And so how could we all play the way you guys play? Right? In everything we do, in relationships, in business. And because I don't know, I'm a freak in the sense that it drives me fucking crazy that people don't reach their peak. So I guess my question is, what are your suggestions, right? How do people out there play like you?
Yeah, the biggest thing I find when I'm speaking to people is finding that why, finding that goal. And I'm sure this isn't a novel idea, but look at us Olympians. We have every 4 years a target, a very clear target, and we have 4 years to prepare, not a day more and not a day less. And that is a real easy motivation. You have a constant pressure. Your back can be up against the wall if you're injured. And you know that your teammates, your competition around the world, they're all hungry and they're waiting for an edge, an opportunity to get ahead of each other. So a time like now, everyone's thinking to themselves, man, I don't know what my other teammate's doing. He's training hard. I don't know what people around the world are doing. I think they're training hard, but I can't afford not to train hard. And in the case of Sam, I feel for you. And I feel for all summer Olympians because all summer athletes, because you guys have to re-qualify, I'm assuming, come next year. And I'm sure that's going to put on the stress an extra level because you guys have planned for a peak specifically for this year. And now you have to kind of, get a second wind and make sure that the training's on point and there's no injuries. So how do I establish a why for my day-to-day? How are the long-term goals? And I think, Joe, something you've done that's fantastic is setting up a Spartan lifestyle. every one of these races can be that why. Instead of waiting 4 years, you could be targeting the next race and the one after that and the one after that. And maybe you set yourself up trifecta per year. Who knows? But if you don't have a big goal, whether it's financial, I mean, you came from finance. That is the motivation in and of itself. You're looking for these big financial gains, and it keeps you hungry. But if you're just trying to get up and say, oh, I'll do 10 push-ups a day or 100 burpees a day, the question then after a while becomes, why am I doing this? You know, your family members are in need. Let's say the jobs are down given the times. After a while, you start to lose that gas to say, do I keep doing this? But if you kind of keep together with that, with the team, with the lifestyle, with the whole Spartan mentality, I think the viewers might find that if you choose to do at least 1 or 2 Spartan races, maybe up to 3, spread them out throughout the year, and that keeps you hungry in between all of these checkpoints. If you can handle more, great.
I can't even believe you answered. I mean, that was the answer. That's how I would have answered. I know each of you will have your own twist, and I'd love to hear it, but I call it the Spartan paradox. And you guys tell me if you agree or not, which is, and by the way, it doesn't have to be a Spartan race. It's whatever that for all of you, you have that date on the calendar, that qualification, that day at the Olympics, right? Most people don't have that. Most people, to your point, say, yeah, I want to lose some weight. But there's no accountability. There's no date on the calendar.
That's right.
People say to me, I want to do a race someday. I want to do this someday. I want to do that someday, but I'm not in shape. I don't have a gym membership. I don't have the time. And what I say is you actually have it backwards. First, you sign up for the hard thing. You get a date on the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, somehow you get a gym membership. It just happens. Somehow you start waking up earlier. Somehow you put down the glass of wine. So it's exactly what I would say.
Joe, let me add just one quick thing at the end here, and I'll pass the floor on. The Spartan namesake. The Spartans did something incredible because their backs were against the wall, literally at the hot gates. What are you going to do? We can leave or stay. If we're staying, we're going to die. We know that. At least we can take as many of these guys down as we can.
Listen. You're so good. You just took my job. I'm tired. Would you mind taking over? Because you're fucking good. All right, next.
All right.
I think something that Alex.
That's saying a lot. I'd love to hear from the rest of the panel, because you guys bring such great insight. Because I know everyone, obviously, their day to day is so kind of flipped upside down now. How are you guys? How are you finding that? How are you finding that drive, or that that goal directive that to give you purpose?
Yeah, I think what Alex said is super important there. It's understanding what your why is. And I think the biggest paradox is, well, how do you get there? And people talk about motivation all the time. And for me personally, motivation's bullshit. Like, you can wake up one day and be incredibly motivated to train for the Olympics, and you can wake up the next day and you're in quarantine and the only exercise equipment you got is in the driveway and it's -5 and it's snowing. Like, I'm not motivated in that situation. Get out there and get after it. But I'm disciplined enough to put in the work towards my why, because I'm trying to achieve something great. And I think that that's maybe what separates, the people on the panel here, the people who go to the Olympics, elite athletes, from the general population, is we know what our why is, but we have the discipline to pursue that why, even when we're motivated. And I think that that's a real game changer for the general population, is when you can establish that discipline, like Joe was talking about, even before the podcast even started here, getting up the same time. He's structuring himself in a manner so that he can be successful. He's using discipline that he's developed in order to push himself toward that goal or that event or whatever it may be. And I think if the general population can adopt that, they can get away from this concept that, like, you're either motivated or you're not motivated. Well, we're all in that situation, but discipline, I think, is what's really going to push you to the next level.
Yeah, I totally hear what you're saying there, and there's so many great points there. I also heard Nick talking about how he's basically had to reinvent what he's going after, and with the training. So I'm interested to hear, Nick, what you've kind of been going through and how you keep that similar motivation, if you will, but on a long-term level.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are exactly right. I mean, motivation is funny because you can, like he said, you can wake up one day and not have anything at all, and one day you can wake up and be like, hey, I'm motivated to go win gold. And with me specifically, I've kind of taken this time to, and I'm sure a lot of the general public can relate to this, is take this time to kind of reflect on a past couple of tough times, and then hit the reset button in a sense of trying to take care of different things. I mean, my body has been under such a physical impacted past couple months, training seasons, couple years, and I've kind of lost myself mentally a little bit, and it's been kind of hard to go forward with all of that mental and not trying to take care of the right things. And I've kind of used this time to stay fit physically, but also try to up my game mentally, a lot with my mental health and just kind of with my family and personal relationships within my life. Just things like that can elevate me to continue to want to do more when I am able to get back to my daily training lifestyle and get back on the track to, as an Olympic hopeful or Paralympic hopeful as well, as a slight correction. But I mean, that's one thing that I think the general public can definitely take a different spin on this whole terrible pandemic that we're going through.
Yeah, definitely a great way to stay positive. If I could quickly, before we kind of shift on to the next topic, but we'll move it over to the skiers and maybe start with you, Ashley. You're no stranger to overcoming injuries. I maybe lost count of the ACLs, and you've definitely paid the price of ligaments. But how about you? What goes through your mind when you're kind of knocked down or things are inconvenienced, which a lot of this is? How are you approaching it? Do you have to kind of rewire yourself a little bit?
Oh yeah, definitely a little bit. I have had my fair share of injuries, like most athletes who throw themselves off of large jumps. But I think one thing I'd like to add to what Alex said about motivation, like once you find your why and the big thing that you're trying to really go after, and then you go back and you look at those little tiny goals, what's really helped me in staying motivated, because yeah, I'm an Olympic athlete, but I have those days where I wake up and I don't want to go do what I need to go do, is I change my perspective on that motivation to make it either more manageable of a goal or a smaller goal. So, sometimes when you get injured, you have to go and look 4 years out to get inspired and really like pump yourself up. And then some days when you get knocked down, you need to do I need to go and look at one small little thing to accomplish to get me moving again. So changing that perspective a lot is very helpful for me personally. So during quarantine, did I do 10 push-ups? Let's just check that off the list today. Or did I vacuum today? So, and then going back, and when those things seem like they don't really matter, then looking, 2 years, 4 years out and trying to take those goals for motivation. So really seeking motivation from a lot of different sources and perspectives.
Yeah. That actually perfectly segues to ask Alex. I think so many people that follow, whether it be half pipe, slope style, big mountain free ride, so much of the drive comes in progression. It's what basically pushes you. You know that everyone else every year is going to be bringing something new to the table. So progression aside, what do you use for your motivator, for your drive? Where do you get it from?
Well, I would say it's an internal drive, the third drive, but for the most part, it comes down to physiology, what I put into my body. If I'm eating healthy foods and I'm eating greens, then I'm going to be more motivated to go outside, and my brain chemistry is going to be different. If I get adequate sleep, I'm going to be more motivated. For me, it all comes down to physiology. If I go to the steam room or I go to the sauna, that is going to make me get up and go do what I want to do. It just makes every little thing that would be really difficult, like getting out of bed in the morning, is really hard for me. But it makes it just that much easier when everything else is lined up perfectly.
Yeah. It's so interesting to hear, the diversity and how what you guys all have such a unique individual spark that gets you to go, whether it be like getting out of bed. Some people are not morning people, but someone that just amazes me how every day he finds that fire is Joe. And Joe, maybe you could start things off and kind of, you hear a lot of these people that, they can't go to their gym, they can't do that, but you've always had such a knack for, finding, the hack, if you will, in like home training tips. And I know that a lot of people are, sequestered in a pretty small space. Maybe some home training tips from none other than Joe DeSena.
Listen, there's nobody more qualified to give training tips than the rest of the panel. I'm an old man my thing is, guys,
tough as nails.
We got nails. We got bands. I got a rusty chain. I swear to God, outside I drag around. But I wish I could tell you that I sit around with some scientists and some doctors, and that's why we came up with this stuff. But I really come up with it because I just don't want to miss my day. And I might not have a steam room available, Alex, right? I might not have a cold shower available, so I'll jump in a river. I'll pull a rusty chain. I use body weight exercises. I do pull-ups on hotel doors. I just do the work. I try to avoid excuses, but these pros on the call, they would have the detailed, science behind doing the things like restricting blood flow while you're doing exercises, et cetera. So I'd pass it on to them. I'm a Flintstone.
Okay, let's go to the science, Sam, and then obviously, some of you are obviously kind of pushing the envelope there, but like Sam, any insight there?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at the training that a lot of us are doing when it comes to, physical training, we're accustomed to being in a gym setting, right? At the level we're at, most strength equipment is at our disposal if we need it. So it's a shock to us as well to be in this environment where we really don't have, what we're accustomed to. And again, I think it comes back to framing as to like, where are you looking to go? And then once you know where you're looking to go, you can start to structure a training program around that with very minimal equipment. If we're looking, I've been saying this since the pandemic started. A lot of us, you look at Alex pushing a bobsled, volleyball, we're a power sport. So a lot of the times in this situation, I'm worried about losing power. But I know according to the science, I really only need to get a single power session every 5 to 7 days. So if you're at home and you have this goal out, I think it's like you said, it's important to work backwards from it and establish a plan. And once you do that, you're going to realize you don't need much more than body weight, some bands you bought off Amazon, and the discipline to put the work in every day. And you'll be successful at the end of that. You'll look at, you add up all the number of reps you've done in quarantine after 8 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever it may be, you're going to see the progress you've made towards your goal. It might be slower than if you had access to all the equipment you needed it to be, but you're going to come out better.
Wait. I want to just show you guys the toughest workout I've ever done. I'm sure you guys have done much tougher workouts than me. Let me just show you something. I lived here for like 14 years on the farm, and up that mountain, can you guys see the mountain?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I would just carry a 3/4 inch sheet of plywood, 4x8 sheet of plywood up that mountain on a windy day. That's a workout.
So what'd you end up building after all that plywood?
You're a sick bastard.
No, but it's awesome, right? Because it's hard to hold. The wind is blowing you. It's like a sail, and it's an absolute nightmare to get it up there. There's a cabin up there. I carried stuff up for 14 years, and
beautiful.
And I think you're exactly right. I think you could make do like that couch you're sitting on, right? Push it around the house like a bobsled.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I got a great workout for all Spartans that are out there right now. You guys do lots of climbing. Here's blood flow restriction without having any bands. Sweep for your forearms. Stick your arms over your head. Full extension, full contraction as fast as you can. Rip that for as long as you can tolerate, and you're going to feel this start to burn as the blood drains out of your forearms. It's going to kill.
Oh.
This is fantastic.
Two-time world Spartan champion Robert Killing is watching. I'm sure he definitely has those skills. If you've ever seen.
You tell him first one's free.
Okay, so these are good hacks. Any other hacks, Alex? Do you have any sneakiness?
Yeah, I use these things. They're carpet sliders, and you use them for like, I don't know, whatever, sliding the right arm out, sliding the left arm out, core stuff like that. I use band stuff. I have an indoor pillow bar over there. And it's just a lot of body weight stuff like push-ups, sit-ups, just get back to the roots. Like I just do it all in my room on the floor.
I agree with that. I'm a big, I've been taking this time just taking it back to basics. Doing my first love is soccer. So me and my teammates on the national team are holding each other accountable. Our coaches and everyone on the staff is just holding each other accountable and sending each other a video of just 30 seconds to a minute of a video of us just getting back to the basics, doing some simple drills just to try to hold each other accountable throughout the couple of weeks. So something as simple as that can keep you motivated and keep you going.
Yeah, you could end up going into a shame spiral if you fall off, fall off the regiment, right?
Yep.
That's it. Well, I'd love to kind of switch gears if we can talk about as we move forward. I mean, in this time of isolation, permission to speculate by all of you guys. I know you mentioned summer going after summer going after winter, but how do you guys think the world is going to react to the Olympics? You think it's going to be more of an embrace, that they're going to want and appreciate it more when they do take place?
Absolutely, it has to be, because
Yeah.
I've been watching the reruns of Rio every single day, and I'm waiting. And I'm a winter athlete. I want to see every single event in summer. I want to see Sam win.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be a big celebration of the end of social distancing.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's going to come together in the arenas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's been a hot topic in the media, you know, whether it was going to be canceled, it's postponed. And, you know, now we're hearing talks that will they actually be able to execute next year? And I think, you know, should they be able to do that? Should we hold the Olympics in 2021? Like Alex said, I think it's going to be a huge celebration in sport, because it may be like an Olympics we've never seen before. When our season kicks up, it could be the most interesting start to the season ever, because we could have, you know, basically quarantine trained athletes trying to compete at their highest possible level without really having any training leading up to the event. So I think it will really be a celebration of sport and kind of bring the world together even more so than the Olympics does, you know, on any other year.
Yeah. Speaking of that, both Alex's and maybe Ashley, if you guys could maybe speak to everyone watching around the world right now, just about the camaraderie. Those that haven't been to Olympics, I've been lucky enough to, you know, but it covered 8 winter and summer games over the years, and it's one of those things that it's hard to put into words. So maybe speak to what the camaraderie was like, maybe what you anticipated, and when it ended up being, being lucky enough to represent your country.
I think, all the athletes that compete in the Olympics, if they haven't gone to an Olympics before, they come into it, you know, you've been training yourself or with your team to go compete at the highest level. And when you walk into the opening ceremonies, you realize that it's so much bigger than you, that it's about, people around the world coming together despite political tensions or whatever might have been happening in the world. And so I believe, like everyone else said, that the next Olympic Games will be truly inspiring and bringing everyone back together after this whole crisis.
I mean, I could say just between the four of us, Nick, I haven't had a chance to meet you in person, but between Sam, Ashley, and Mini-Me, we have this fantastic bond together, because we understand each other at a pretty deep level. And I know next time I'm going to the Winter Olympics, if I'm so lucky to make it, I'll be looking for Ashley and Alex and cheering them on, even though they're not bobsledders. You know, it's a privilege to get to be a part of such a big community. And I know the first time that I went, I couldn't help myself but sit at different tables and just ask people what sport they were doing, what they were part of, what countries were they from. So many different cool stories.
Yeah, to piggyback off both of what you guys said, it's such an amazing experience, and it's so fun, and there's so many different things going on. It's hard to actually keep your attention. But for example, the night of Ashley's event, I was watching very intently because I want to see Ashley win. Like, I train with her at the gym sometimes. They give me tips on the trampolines. I want to see my friends do well. And that's a big part. And it's even when the people you don't know do well and you find yourself rooting for them, that's an awesome experience. So I think this next game's, I can't wait.
It's going to be an interesting road. I think the unknown factor leaves a lot of us just in that weird, I don't know, purgatory of wanting something great. And I think everyone's going to be pushing for it. Before we wrap it up, it'd be interesting to hear, like, going through all this like I said, the uncertainty. Like, maybe each one of you individually, kind of like the strength and weakness that you feel that you're kind of going through, having to deal with everything we're having to deal with, if you will. Anyone could,
the Olympians go first. I'll go last.
What's that?
I'll kick that one off.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest weaknesses, and I'm sure everyone on this panel is going to agree, is just being restricted. You know, just kind of not being able to get doing what we're usually doing, we love doing, and it's kind of hard being restricted and having to sit down or wake up a little later, things like that. But that's also kind of ties into what I think that was one of my strengths, is being able to kind of detox and reset and kind of focus on some things that you don't get to focus in long training months and in your competitions. Sometimes it gets so stressful, but I think one of my strengths is being able to kind of just sit back and kind of relax and reflect on everything, and kind of hit the reset button, and trying to focus and kind of reset my goals and what I want to see within the next year. And I'm kind of just like taking this as a blessing in disguise and trying to see the most positive outlook of it. You control what you can control, and let the uncontrollables settle themselves. And it's going to be very easy to tell who takes this pandemic seriously and who takes this time to better themselves. And then it's also going to be very easy to tell who didn't, who took it as a vacation and who lacked. Because like everyone else on this panel and everyone across the world, whether you're the general public or an Olympic, Paralympic athlete, we're all in the same boat. We're all handling with the same things, and no one has necessarily an advantage over another. So what are you doing during this time to make yourself better, to set yourself apart, or to get yourself to those next games?
Nick, I'm a betting man. I know I'm going to see you in Tokyo in track and field. So keep at it.
Thank you.
Maybe Alex Ferreira. Maybe how about you? Strengths, weaknesses, dealing with what all this is.
Yeah, I don't know if it's strength or weakness. I might tweak that to best thing about quarantine life and worst thing about quarantine life. Best thing is family time, getting to know my family really well. And the worst thing is that the steam room is closed and I don't know what to do with myself.
You love your steam. You're a steamer.
Yeah.
I'm a steamer.
The spa life. Okay, how about Alex Kopach? You've got a medal already in the books, and you want to get another. How are you dealing? Like, best and worst aspect.
As an athlete, so I'll say two things that are bad. One's an athlete, and then one is just as a person. Therapy. There's no access to physical therapy. No one's giving you needles, massages. It's hard to not stay fresh and deal with some of your injuries if you can't see your specialist. So it's a bit of a stress point. If I want to make sure that my surgery recovery is max, I see my therapist, and I can't. So I got to figure things out on my own. As a person, I'm finding it difficult to just keep that joie de vivre going. I'll try to go outside for a walk in some isolated areas. I really like kind of being in the woods, but having that day-to-day excitement of just having a job or things like that, that allows you to engage with people en masse. It's hard to stay excited and think to yourself, how many more times can I watch Tiger King? And a positive is getting a chance to read a lot more. And I think one of the coolest books that I've been kind of catching up on talks a lot about stoicism. And I think Joe DeSena embodies the Stoic lifestyle completely. And the funniest thing is the grandfather of Stoicism, or at least the person most famous for it, Marcus Aurelius, back in his emperor days, he had to deal with an epidemic himself. And the way he dealt with it actually is something that everyone can take a page out of his book and just be as mindful to the general population as possible and be a leader and keep your best foot forward every day.
Well, great, amazing stuff there. I'm not going to be surprised if I see you as a spokesman for Spartan races and probably an eventual participant at a Spartan meet and at the Olympics again. So amazing stuff there. Ashley, if I could get your take on, best and worst, or strength, weakness throughout this time.
I think best or strength or one of the in that category is taking value in the little things. Accomplishing small chores. I've found I'm putting way more weight into that because I can't go out and land triple backflips every day. So finding little wins like that, which kind of also translates into the taking a lot of value in going back to the basics in your physical activity and nutrition. Having little wins, but only being able to do push-ups. You can't go lift 200 kilos every day. So I feel like that's one of my strengths, is being able to change that perspective and valuing those things. Weakness is I think I'm way more meticulous about things being clean than I ever thought I was before. So I find myself cleaning like every day, which I don't know how that's possible. I don't make that much mess.
Yeah. You're new to the world of OCD.
Yeah.
We all are. Alex Kropatch had a great point of that he can't see his physical therapist. But Sam, we'll finish on the Olympian side, and then we'll wrap it up with Joe. You have the advantage of having that PT background, so maybe love to get your take on low points, high points, strength, weakness going through this time.
Yeah, and for sure. And shout out to Alex and his steam room, because I mean, I'm a summer athlete, so I get it. But the sauna for me is like, it's training. But I totally understand your pains when it's closed, because I'm a daily sauna type guy. But strengths for me, I think what's really allowed me to have success over the last month at home is, I've kind of said it before, is the discipline I have to executing the systems I have in place for me. And whether that's dealing with nutrition or physical fitness or rehabilitation or even just connecting with my wife or other people, it's really kind of allowed me to use this as an opportunity to continue to progress towards my goals instead of be stagnant. And I think, let's not call it a weakness, let's call it an area for improvement. But something that's challenging during this time, not only for athletes but also for everyone in this experience, is the unknowns, that mental toll that this situation can take on you. And although I've put the work in to develop that mental fortitude in the gym, on the court, and as best I can outside of the court, you start to realize in these situations, and you catch yourself, it could be catastrophizing or thinking that the work that you've put in is not going to be there at the time. And to be aware of that and continue to work on that, I think especially in a time like now is even more important. And Alex, for rehabilitation, I feel you, man. That's a tough one too, with trying to come back. But like everyone was kind of saying, getting back to basics is so important. And from a rehab or physio perspective, I think that's one of the biggest takeaways people from home can really apply, is that look at those low hanging fruit, that area for improvement that you were probably neglecting because you wanted to go swing on monkey bars, or you wanted to do power cleans instead of do those little tiny things that are going to make those bigger lifts or those bigger endeavors improve when this is all over. So get back to basics and really look for that low hanging fruit and execute, because we got nothing but time right now.
Mm-hmm.
Great perspective. And I'd love to get we'll shift it and we'll kind of wrap up with Joe. But Joe, love to get your takeaways, hearing from our Olympians and future Olympians, we'll call it that. And then maybe some insight, Joe, that you can lend to all of these incredible athletes, all in their own right.
I loved everything. I heard. I think our community loves everything I heard. It literally lines up perfectly with our messaging. Couldn't have said it any better around the commitment, the OCD. I had some folks on a call today that were talking about alcohol addictions or this or that. And I said, hey, there's good news. If you have an addictive personality, all we got to do is move that addiction to something healthy, right? We're all addicted to hard work, to getting after it, to winning. And so addictive personality is good. We just got to make sure we're addicted to good things. So clean, clear message, perfectly aligned. For me, not that you asked, but for me, best part with my family, also best part is shining a light on my weaknesses, right? Like Darwin said, it's not the strong, it's not the smart, but it's the most adaptable. And I definitely, even though I push a message to the world that says, hey, you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable, I was comfortable. we were crushing it, right? We bought our competitor, things are humming, we're growing. And this was a punch in the face. What did Mike Tyson say, right? Everybody's got a plan until you get punched. I got punched in the face. And so we had to pivot right away. We're selling merchandise, we're creating content, we're doing Zoom calls with Olympians. So I'm fucking uncomfortable. and that's a positive. That's a positive. Just got the other thing I wanted to say, Alex, on the sauna thing, my kids wrestle. And this may be obvious to all of you because you're super athletes, but if you order on Amazon those sauna suits and you throw 2 sweatshirts over it, 2 sweatpants, socks, hat, and you did some jump rope, in 40 minutes, you'll be sweating like nobody's business. I see my kids take off those sauna suits, 5 gallons of water falls out of the suit. So you can recreate the sauna right in your living room.
Consider it ordered.
The other thing is, shameless plug, if I can. Check this out. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
It's a roller like you'd see in the gym. I'm going to send you these, okay? We came up with this. It's made out of recycled rubber from tires, and they come in different ways. So this is a 33-pounder, right? And so you could do halos, you could do curls, you could do everything with these. Again, I sound like a late night. This thing's unbelievable. I'm going to send everybody those. You just get me the weights, and then we got bands coming out of our asses. So I got.
Hey Joe, if I could hold your feet to the fire, what do you say when the dust settles on all this? We could have the USANA team come out to the barn there, and you just put them through the rigmarole.
I would love you. I'll order sheets of plywood now. I'll have them ready for you.
Make a new addition to your cottage up there.
Yeah.
We all wear
Manual labor.
Yeah, we all wear sauna suits. I'm gonna get a couple of vacuums because I know you guys all have OCD.
Go to a new cabin.
Yeah, and I do want to point out that the sauna suit, the problem is you don't get that same lavender smell that you have at the spa. So that aside,
make sure you're doing that in your garage, because inside the house sounds dirty and smelly, and I got an issue with that, so it's got to go in the garage.
Right. Yeah. Well, I want to thank everyone, Ashley Caldwell, Alex Ferreira, Nick Mayhew, Alex Kopach, Sam Pedlow, and of course, none other than Joe DeSena. Joe, always so great to catch up. So I want to thank the entire Spartan family and USANA Cellular Nutritional Company for making this possible. And we want to encourage everyone watching, get involved in the conversation, #BeUnbreakable, and we will get through this. So thank you, everyone. We will see you next time.
Thank you very much.
See you guys. Thank you so much.
Clean the house, Ashley.
Got to go back to it. It's got dirty again in the last hour.